All right, good evening, everyone. Let's see, this is a meeting of the Plympton Board of Appeals for the 40B application by SLT Construction Corp. Anyway, so we're going to open the meeting now. But before I begin, I want to note that originally there were two matters scheduled for tonight: a continuation of the 40B hearing, which we scheduled for 6:30, and then there was an appeal filed by SLT regarding a cease and desist order issued by the zoning enforcement officer at 7:30. After discussions between our attorney, who's not present tonight, and SLT's attorney, we've agreed to continue that to a later date. So we won't be discussing that matter tonight, but we will be going forward with whatever we can discuss on the 40B issue. So if anybody's here who was wanted to be expecting something done at 7:30, we'll be continuing that to another date. But we are formally going to open that hearing now, because we have statutory deadlines, and so that'll allow us to give us more time to consider the issues that need to be considered. There's been some discussion, some negotiation that's in progress, and so ultimately, so that the appeal, which is a separate matter, will be dealt with at a later date. Is that acceptable, Attorney Galvin?
Yes, it is.
All right. So, anyway, since everybody's here, and if anybody comes at 7:30, I can I'll make another announcement. If anybody enters the room, to just tell them that we're not going to be doing it tonight. But anyway, do you want to do a date now, or do you want to wait till we finish with the 40B thing? And
we'll agree to whatever date you suggest. I would just suggest a March date. But
okay. Do you have any problem waiving the time? Because we're under a deadline here.
We'll give you an extension for the time frame as well.
All right, I appreciated that.
Yep.
Okay. So anyway, so we'll discuss the scheduling of that toward the end of the hearing. I think once we figured out what we're going to do with the 40B thing, so we don't need to schedule two dates if we can somehow find a way to efficiently do two things in one day.
Okay.
Okay. Now, so now going back to the 40B. There was Karen, you asked about the extension because we talked about an extension to March 31st. I believe Attorney Galvin signed one. I didn't have a chance. I haven't seen it, so I need to sign one.
No. The last hearing we did have one signed.
Okay.
And I think you were going to put it in the town clerk's box afterwards,
I can't remember. I think I did, but I can't remember as I sit here tonight
Okay.
if I did or not.
Okay.
And I couldn't see myself signing it on the video, so I might have done it then. So if not, what I'm going to do, if everyone has no objection, I'll sign another piece of paper, and if you would sign it, okay, and I'll put it in there now so that I don't forget about this. Today's the 2, 4, 6. Okay, and
Thank you.
okay, that is actually taken care of, and it's on the record that it has been. So we don't have to worry about that we have an extension to March 31st. Okay, so now that takes care of the preliminary housekeeping matters. Now, in terms of status updates, we've had discussions with our hydrogeology peer reviewer. Greg and I have attended two meetings with the company, and they have this afternoon issued a draft report. I only got it an hour ago, so I haven't had a chance to review it. But the applicant will obviously need time to review it as well. So we will schedule the next hearing so that they would have time to review and respond.
They sent those to me late Tuesday. I've been kind of in and out of the office with medical appointments.
Sure.
So I haven't had a chance to reply to them. They want me to call them, I said, I get back to them so they can finalize it, and then move forward on it.
All right,
Yeah, let's see, I'm gonna make it a point to get that done tomorrow,
okay,
so we'll get that to you guys by the end of the week.
all right.
Mr. Chair, if I may, just
Yep.
one sort of procedural thing. I know we've got a full house of board members here, but two of our board members are no longer able
Oh,
to
yes.
vote on the 40B. I mean, they can certainly stay and listen if they would like to, but
Yes, yes, I mean, essentially, they're full board members except for the vote. I think that's how we consider them. Yes, so the voting members are myself, Suzanne Jafarian, and David Alberti. Because we've all attended all the meetings except for, I think Suzanne missed one, so.
but she's certified for that one.
Yeah, she listened to that. So anyway, our other members here, because of the statute, says you can only miss one. If you miss two, then then you can't vote. So, but anyway, so essentially, even though Lucas here is a full board member, for this hearing, he's being treated as an alternate. Sorry about that. I'm sure you're broken up about that. All right, so everybody here knows that Dave, myself, and Suzanne, we're the voting members. At the end of the day, it's going to be our names on the decision and our vote. So anyway, with that, let's see. All right, so what can we get done tonight?
Mr. Chair, sorry.
Yes.
Will the peer review report be available for others?
Yes, we can, yes, we generally post whatever we receive from our peer review consultants. There are other consultants as well. We generally post those. I will ask the webmaster to post that by the end of the week.
They're up here online. You can see that this town website, if anybody's interested. Ricketts Pond Estate proposed 40B,
Yeah, that's where we keep our
This
our
is-
materials.
all public.
And that's the most recent submittals that they submitted on Tuesday, and we just got the report about an hour ago. So I will see that the draft report does get posted for the public, and they can review it too.
Thank you very much.
You wanna hold off till I get the comments back to them and they finalize it, or?
Yes, all right, I'll do a final. When we get the final, when do you anticipate that will take?
I'd like to get it by the end of the week.
All right, yes, all right, so
Tomorrow,
we'll-
I'm gonna ask them to finalize it for us.
All right, so we'll post the final one when we get it, so it's only a couple of days. And, there will be some, at least 2 weeks between now and the time, so that everyone, the applicant's expert can review it as well. All right, so, okay, so,
Can I just ask, can I clarify, so are you going to post only the final hydrology report after the consultant incorporates both sides' comments, or the draft?
we,
They're both public records.
yes, we can if I have no trouble posting the draft as well as the final. You might not, I can do it if no one objects to it. I can't, they are, as they say, you are public records, so yes, they can be posted.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Attorney Gallo, when people get a question, could you just have them identify themselves?
Sure.
Yes, sorry about that.
So, okay, now, what's next on the agenda? So we were talking about waivers. I think that was the thing that we could discuss tonight.
Right.
But there was one thing I wanted to, did you receive that email from the conservation agent about?
Yes.
Okay, so we can talk about that. Okay, all right, so. Okay, so I think we're going on a document that says, let's see, waivers and exemption, February 2nd, 2026. so, so how should we begin with this 20-page document?
Well, there's over 100 of them.
Yes, I mean, so it's a fairly lengthy list.
Can we offer a suggestion?
Yeah.
Please.
Perhaps you could get your peer review consultant to make a recommendation on the waivers, because some of them are gonna be technical and engineering related, and once you have that, I think you'd be armed with more information in order to make a decision on whether the waiver should be granted. There might be some that are not engineering related that you can decide, some of the questions about fees and expenses, things like that, but it might be more productive use of time to have peer review make a recommendation.
Okay. So, all right, so if you take, for example, let's see, okay, let's see, some of these things are,
Peer review received this.
all right, so we have, essentially, we have multiple,
Months.
You know,
Months.
we have wetlands, we have zoning, we have Title V, we have site plan, we have subdivision. I mean, I would think that site plan and subdivision might be a product of engineering. Zoning bylaw seems to be more of a general one, and wetlands, obviously, that seems to be more of a Conservation Commission, but they did talk about that today. They did send me an email today or yesterday about specific issues that they had. So,
Mr. Chair, could
Yeah.
you please forward that email to our team?
sure.
Thank
Did you forward it to us?
I'm not sure. But anyway, let me pull it up here if I can find it. Let's see. No, that's not it.
I think we also agreed to table the discussion on waivers related to the Board of Health regulations until your peer review consultant submits his report. He was going to make a recommendation on those.
Yes, I
And
mean,
until our expert has a chance to review his report.
okay. So, those seem to be like Title V type regulations. So,
Supplementary, regulations of Title V.
all right, so we don't need to look at those. There's quite a few of those. All right, so wetland bylaw, again, that seems to be something that hydrogeology may have some impact on. Let's see, so,
We might have got it yesterday, the Plympton Conservation. this one.
yeah,
That was yesterday.
okay, okay, so essentially, since it is town comment, I suppose it's, okay. Let me read the email. It says, hi again, Ethan. I just had a chance to look at the new plan stated February 2nd, and I noticed there's no substantive changes regarding the wetlands. I want to check back to see if the applicant has clarified any of the items on the commission's December 4th, 2025 letter. At this point, I'm mainly referring to item 1 below regarding the limit of work, specifically on lot 17, and he has three items. It says clarifying the limit of work/erosion controls on the plan and having an inspection of the erosion controls, preferably by the commission before work commences. 2, adding silt fencing to erosion controls if work is within 25 feet of the wetland. And 3, within lot 17, adding post fencing with conservation land signage along the limit of work to demarcate 30 yards of the wetland to prevent future encroachment. Is that the one you have?
Yeah, that's
okay.
one I have. I'm just going to forward it to Dave,
Okay.
because I don't think he got it.
Okay, so that's what the conservation asked me, and I said we would address that, because he indicated that was not something that's within the whatever limited input the Conservation Commission has in this project. All right, so
Sure, we don't have that December letter either.
let's see, I'm not sure if I have it, but I can forward you the email that was sent to me by the agent. Yeah. All right, so I think what he's referring to is a letter regarding an issue of public water supply, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I'm not sure if I don't think I have it here, but but I do recall that there was a letter. I mean, if that was the, no, I don't have it there. But yes, I don't have it in front of me, so I'm not sure, as we sit here, what exactly he's talking about. But I do remember there was a letter from Mass DEP, or I think it was maybe, or, oh, the commission's letter, or maybe it wasn't Mass DEP's. So,
You might have had a letter from the Board of Health that raised a concern based on their conversation with Mass DEP about us triggering a public water supply.
yes, I remember the issue. I'm not sure if that, you know, I'm not 100% sure if that's what he's talking about, but there, oh, here it is. Okay, okay, so no, there is a letter. It's December 4th, 2020. Oh, do you have it up there, Dave?
I don't know if this is the one,
Yeah,
I'm
I
just
think
searching through.
No, that's not.
No.
No,
But it is on the public website. So if you go into the updated comment letters from the town,
okay.
you'll find it.
Whoop. One of these, let's see.
Yeah, the second one from the bottom. It says updated comment letters from the town, September, December. The last
Oh,
one.
okay.
Yeah.
That's what he's referring
Yeah.
to. I'm not reading all that. Okay. Okay, so they made some requests in that letter. Would you like to respond now, or would you like to,
We can respond.
okay?
We're not opposed to any of what's requested here. It sounds like they have some proposed conditions of approval.
Okay,
And we wouldn't be opposed to those conditions being added to the conditions of approval.
okay, all right, so,
We don't have any work within 25 feet. Closest building is 47 feet,
yes,
so, but it doesn't look like they're opposing our request for a waiver. They're asking for some conditions that would result in protection of the wetlands, which are acceptable to us.
all right. Okay, so, all right, so all right, so the three conditions that have been suggested here, regarding that letter, which I've read, and I don't have a copy to print out, but anyway, did I forward that to you? Did she forward that to you, Dave?
No, I had this on the town website.
No, the email that the agent sent.
Yeah,
checked a minute ago.
I just forwarded it to you.
Okay, I'll look
Why
again.
don't we pull that up?
That was
So-
from yesterday.
Okay.
So
This one.
let's talk specifics here, since this seems to be in the subject matter of waivers and conditions.
You just scroll down.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Is that the piece there?
Oh. Scroll back up. You
Back
lost.
up, that was the correct part.
You're right there.
Yeah, so
That's it.
the bold parts,
Okay.
that's, yeah, so right there was good.
those three conditions would be acceptable to us.
All right, so, okay, so I suppose we should add those to whatever things we do. All right. Okay, so that takes, all right, so that seems to take care of the commission's comments. All right, so now, okay, all right, so now, back, now let's go, now if we can go back to the list of waivers and exemptions. All right, so, okay, just, all right, let's see. So I would suggest we should, I think we're able to discuss where it says Plympton, on the first page, toward the end of it, where it says Plympton zoning bylaws, chapter 300. I think we're able to discuss those tonight. And discuss them, deal with them, do whatever with them. And the other ones seem to be perhaps still contingent upon Board of Health and hydrogeology. But, if anyone thinks that, other topics can be discussed, I'm happy to listen, happy to hear it. But right now, I think that we're pretty much, we might be able to also get to the site plan. There's also a section here about site plans, but I think the rest, may need to be addressed at a later meeting. Because we got, let's see, earth removal, wetlands protection, zoning bylaw, Title V amendments, site plan regulations, and subdivision regulations. Those seem to encompass the major subject matter headings of the waivers list. So why don't we talk about the general bylaws, since that's, that's I think most within our competence here, because we are the zoning board and we're supposed to adjudicate things like schedules of uses and lot setbacks and that sort of thing. So let's focus on those, on pages, bottom of page 1 to the top of page 3 and see how, middle of page 4 and see what we do.
Could we just kind of give you a rationale for us?
Yeah.
So we can't complete this project and comply with your zoning bylaw because there are a number of provisions of your zoning bylaw that this project doesn't comply with. So we didn't ask for a complete waiver of your zoning bylaw. We asked for a waiver of certain specific provisions that would prevent this project as designed from being built.
Right.
So that's why you see.
Sure. I mean, obviously, the first one here, it says, you're asking for a residential use in an industrial zone, so that's the way we have to have to grant you, otherwise you can't do it.
Right.
And we'll go on down the list, and we understand that, that 40B, regardless of anyone's particular views on the law, does permit a 40B project that qualifies to override local zoning bylaws, except to the extent that there are certain limits. But generally speaking, most zoning bylaws must yield, or at least must be, must, if not yield totally, then they may need to be, relaxed to the extent that it permits a project to proceed. So for that, obviously, I mean, for the first one, for example, I think that has to be granted as of right in this situation.
May I ask, Mr. Chair, is your intent then to vote on these as you go through them this evening? Because that's certainly one way you could approach this.
I'm not sure we should do, let's go through them first, and then we'll see where we stand on them. Because I don't want to, if we can deal with them as a package, I think it would probably be better to do it that way. But obviously, the first two, it's pretty, the first two are pretty much are gonna have to go. But anyway, but we get more down to the technical stuff, then we can, we should have more discussion on that subject before we start, and then we can get a total feel of how we can do this, I think. But anyway, the first one, as I just said, residential use not allowed in industrial zone. There's not nothing that's really to be said. All right, no more than one dwelling unit on a building lot. That one also, must be subject to the state minimum. So, that one is the sweeping ones are probably gonna have to go first. But anyway, well, let's go down to the third one, which says table of intensity of use, and we have here. lot dimensions, minimum yard, maximum percentage of land, impervious coverage. So anyway, so what's being proposed there is on the screen. It seems to me that as long as the proposal meets the state minimum standards, then, then it will be on the board to identify a condition that will be hazard, substantially detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare, whatever the statutory standard is.
And if I may, Mr. Chair, one thing that is pretty common with respect to a waiver is not just that the applicant says, I need a waiver from lot size, for example, or a waiver from a setback, but that typically you would also be told what is the applicant proposing. So for example, with the table of intensity of uses, they've made it clear what the lot size is that's required in the zoning district, what the minimum lot size is on average for the lots to be created, and the setbacks, that sort of thing. But when we then get into maximum percentage of land covered by buildings and maximum percentage of impervious coverage, you'll note that the applicant just says exemption.
All right.
It would be helpful to know, well, what percentage
all
is
right.
the applicant proposing?
Oh,
for
I agree. I
example.
think that's an excellent observation, because as we can see, when they give hard numbers, we know what they're proposing. But
Right.
if it says blanket exemption, and it's something that actually is attached to a number, then I think we need to know what their minimum is going to be. All right, so anyway, so on that discussion, again, we're on 300-5-1 here for everybody, listening in. All right, so A, B, C, and D, they've all said, what the minimums are going to be. Now, D and E, all right, so.
There's no C.
Oh, there's no C. Okay, so, I'm sorry. All right, so D and E, all right, so, so our bylaws call for 30 and 60% respectively for the coverages. What are your minimums going to be?
Good question.
Percentage.
Okay.
You'd have to calculate.
We'd have to calculate every lot, I guess.
Every lot's gonna be different, and we wanna leave some wiggle room in case somebody decides they want a pool.
If you're looking for the minimum, we're gonna have to determine that,
Right, then, all right, so,
Can't quite hear.
I'm sorry, you said if, would you repeat what you said, please?
We're gonna calculate the minimum, or the lot coverage in every lot.
All right,
We'll do
okay,
that.
all right, so that I think I think that's acceptable. We'll wait for those calculations on D and E. All right, so next one, side yards. Let's see, all right, so again, that's another one where you can say, okay, 50 feet, it has, distances and angles, I think we'll need, the minimums for those as well. If those need to be calculated individually for each lot, then that's what we would expect, I believe.
I think
Just-
10 is the minimum.
Well, the minimum that Plympton requires versus the exemption, we need something in the exemption box that says what your minimum is being proposed will be.
I'm sorry, which, what are we on, 5.4?
Yeah,
Yeah,
5.4, the side yards.
It's right up there.
It may not be applicable, because I'm not sure we bought in an agricultural residential district.
Mr. Chair, that was actually something I had raised. The only agricultural residential district I see is in Carver, not Plympton, and there's land separation. You're not directly abutting. I don't see that this provision is applicable to your
We'll review-
project.
I have to review the plan again, but I tend to agree, and if it's not, we'll just strike it.
Okay, yes, because you are correct, it's, this whole parcel is in the industrial zone. However, and we've seen the plans, and obviously, the yard dimensions, are, whatever they are on the plan, and they're not being packed together, side by side, so there is some distance. But, to the extent, to the extent that although this is an agricultural residential district, this property is being used for residential purposes. Do we have any authority to impose a reasonable condition on the side yards in this instance?
Well, they've asked for a side yard setback exemption under 5.1.
Yes.
They're looking for 10 feet.
All right.
Oh, I
Five-
see.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
5.4 establishes a 50-foot setback adjacent to an agricultural residential
Oh, I see.
district.
And since we're,
And unless something has been mismarked on the plan, I don't see
Oh, now,
that's what he's
okay.
saying, that doesn't
are
apply.
adjacent to an
Okay, now I understand
agricultural.
what you were saying, because the only agricultural residential district adjacent to the parcel is in Carver, so,
And I don't even, it doesn't even appear to be adjacent because there is this 7 Ricketts Pond Drive lot.
Yes.
If we go to the lotting plan, I'm not going to ask Dave to keep switching back and forth, but they're not immediately abutting agricultural residential district even in Carver.
all right, so it does sound like that's something we can delete. Yes, Mr. Anderson?
I just had a question just for my own knowledge. If it's, if the housing project does happen there on zoned industrial, does it, moving forward from that, does it, what set of rules does it abide by, zoning or residential? If it's on zoning but being used as residential, does it become residential or does it stay zoning but under a waiver?
I think it stays industrial under waivers, and I think we do have the authority to pose some reasonable conditions to ensure that it is conducive to residential usages, which might not be the case if this was a pure industrial one, as if they were asking for a variance for something to build a factory or something, whatever they might want.
Well, probably the subdivision
The reason I ask is, in
regulations.
his swimming pool hypothetical
Example.
situation, would a future resident trying to get a swimming pool, would they have to consider it under residential or industrial zoning rules?
That's a good question, because I'm not sure if, can anyone know off the top of their head if the schedule of uses permits a pool in an industrial zone?
Well, what if you were to grant a comprehensive permit? This site would be governed by the rules of a comprehensive permit, which would allow residential use. And we would suggest that a person could have a shed
Yes.
as an accessory use, or a pool as an accessory use, and be treated no differently than any other single-family resident.
All right. So essentially, for what I think you're trying to say, for those purposes, they would fall under the ag reg rules.
Yes, we're not changing the zoning.
Yes.
We're asking for a permit under state law that allows us to have a residential use in any district, as long as it meets the criteria.
And I think when you ask for that, you kind of do, more encompass, those uses and those restrictions that we generally see in an ag reg district than you might if you were doing a pure industrial use.
Ethan? Yes. If I may, wouldn't it be more under a subdivision regulation situation?
No, I mean, still, we would consider these
More than it would be
lots
industrial.
to be a residential lot in an industrial district pursuant to a comprehensive permit.
Under residential zoning bylaws and control.
No,
No, under a
No.
comprehensive permit.
no, it's
Basically,
going
the
to,
comprehensive permit governs this project and this piece of land. So anything that you guys condition in the permit is what rules over this project.
And you also have to remember that, you can't treat this housing any differently than you treat any other single-family or
Yeah.
multifamily housing.
Fair enough.
So we would just ask that these lots, under the comprehensive permit, be treated as any other residential lot.
I think we can do that with the understanding, that the same restrictions on accessory buildings or structures have to
Okay,
apply.
with like 10-foot setbacks for, things like that. These lots are smaller lots, and not every lot is big enough or appropriate for a pool, but there are some that would have it, and we don't know whether anybody will want a pool that's probably not gonna go as part of the standard package, but someone down 5 years or 10 years might wanna put a pool in.
Nothing in the condo docs that are being proposed, says either yay or nay to a pool. Does it say yay or nay to a pool? Nothing prohibits, nothing
No.
okay.
You'd probably need to get approval from the association, but that's it.
All right. So yes, so I think we would have to put in a condition that addresses, accessory structures and uses such as sheds.
We'll actually propose something in our condominium documents
All
that
right.
addresses that.
Okay, then I think that addresses the issue. That issue. On that point, accessory dwelling units, that's also something that comes up more recently in the past, and ultimately, we may need to address the applicability of that because they also are on small lots. I'm not sure the current regs support them.
Town council can advise you, but I represent 3 other towns, and any efforts that we've made to treat accessory dwelling units any differently, even from a shed, have been rejected by the Attorney General's office, and we've been redirected to amend our bylaws to make sure that you follow the most permissive regulations regarding accessory structures. So, we'd probably be more particular about it in a condominium than you can legally be under state law.
Well, I suppose if state law sets the minimum, we can't, it does seem like if for accessory dwelling uses, we can't do less than that. Do more stricter than what they require.
We really have more control as the condominium association than you might under state law, at least in our view.
All right. So
It's also going to be dictated by the size of the septic systems here, too.
and yes, that's the point, because obviously, regardless of the buildings, the occupancy still needs to, the septic still needs to report that occupancy. And obviously, when we get to the Title V, we'll talk more about that. But for now, I think we're all set. All right, so the next one, 300-5.8, retreat lots.
So, Mr. Chair, if I can ask on this one, too? I didn't see a definition of retreat lots, and I'm not sure what the applicant is, why the applicant's requesting this.
There's 1 or 2 that have a very narrow frontage on the way.
So the ones in the way,
Correct. It wouldn't relate to all the lots, just a few of the lots.
just the far ones, like where the spare parcel will be?
Yeah, and they're not 120,000 square feet.
Well, none of them. None of this is, but,
No, so
but,
that's a requirement for retreat.
Which is why we need to accept.
okay, but we're not considering the whole parcel a retreat lot. Could we identify the actual parcels so parcel A and,
13 through 16.
okay.
Those ones with the narrow frontage at the end. Those would be for retreat lots.
Yeah,
Yeah, those ones.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll add that.
Okay, all right, so, yeah, it looks like 13 through 16, because they'll have this,
13 to 16, yep.
small frontage, okay? All right, so, okay, all right, so. Two duplexes. Okay, so we get to the list, it says, E, no retreat lot access way shall abut any other retreat lot access way. It says exemption. Let's see, can you tell us what's that all about? I'm not sure if I quite grasped
Well,
that.
those 4 retreat lots, I guess those 4 lots could be classified as retreat lots.
Okay.
So what they're saying is
Oh,
you
okay.
can't have.
So no
can't
two
have-
adjacent to each other, right? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, they don't want- it's not-
Okay, does anyone have a comment on the remainder of the section on retreat lots? Okay, I have one question. On G, it says, structures, proposed structures, 100 feet, that's what the bylaw requires, and 10 feet, that's what you're proposing. Why so, why so short?
Well, the distance is probably 40 feet between the structures,
Okay,
particularly on 16 through 13.
okay.
We're asking for 10 feet for the entire project for side lot
So
lines.
we wouldn't be able to meet the 100.
So,
Okay, yes.
I mean, keep in mind that A through G is based on lots needing to be 3 acres in size also. So, I mean, if typically a 100-foot setback wouldn't be a problem for a lot that size.
I mean,
100-foot setback's pretty.
as I see your proposed plan, I don't see any lots that are oh, hold on, let me see the actual ones, the buildings on them. Okay, so, yeah, I mean, I see the general lots are, do have the side yard, the minimum side yards, and they do look like they're probably about, I mean, it looks like you do have at least 20 feet between each building for the regular ones, and obviously for the retreat lots, to some extent, you'll have more. It seems to be, you probably have, it looks like you have about 20 feet between each building, if I'm reading this correctly, but, again, I'm sort of just estimating here by what I see.
The buildings between the lots have a 10-foot distance between them,
All right, so,
and the structures on abutting lots are plus 20,
Okay.
more than 20.
But the retreat lots require that structures have to be 100 feet from any lot line. So that's what they're asking for the
Okay.
reduction.
The exemption.
all right, so, and obviously, clearly, their plan, can't accommodate that, not with all these units, but, yeah, I don't see how they could, as I see the plan, I don't see how they could substantially, increase that without having to completely redo the plan and probably reduce the number of units. So anyway, so I think we can move on to the next section. All right, so the next section is off-street parking. I think we talked quite a bit about this with the fire
That's right,
chief
yeah.
regarding his requirements, and I know you had some discussions with him or his her representative, I think it is. So obviously, I think in terms of meeting their requirements, to the extent that those are encompassed within the footage that you're willing to abide by, that has to control. Let's see, okay, but this is but first we're dealing with driveways, so that's not even the road yet. So driveways, 12 feet wide, one garage space, one driveway space per unit. All right, so,
Mr. Chairman, could I ask a question on that when you get to the driveways?
yeah,
Yeah,
So the version, the 2020 version of the zoning bylaw that is available through the town's website has the minimum driveway widths, if it's one-way of 12 feet, if it's two-way, 20 feet.
yeah.
If you look at the E-code version online, the minimum width for a one-way driveway is 14 feet. The minimum width for a two-way driveway is 22 feet.
Okay.
I know we ran into this with Board of Health regulations, that what E-code has posted is not actually the most up-to-date version of the zoning bylaw. Here it's probably only going to make a 2-foot swing one way or the other, but I think we should identify what is the correct zoning bylaw, because there could be other things that are
All right,
impacted.
so you're saying that the printed the PDF version says 12 feet and the E-code says 14.
Correct.
And I believe the E-code should be the most up-to-date one. But you suggested there's some reason to doubt that?
I would just like someone to clarify that, because we also thought that the Board of Health regulations posted on E-code were the most up-to-date. We discovered a couple of meetings ago that that was not in fact the case.
Yes. I'm not sure how we would efficiently do that, but I guess, whenever our last comprehensive enactment of the zoning bylaw. All right, so we can check that,
I'll
but.
check with the town clerk, perhaps.
Yes. Anyway, but in terms of, all right, so if it's 12 feet, that would, then their plan does comply if it's one way. Is it a one-way or a two-way?
Driveway is a two-way, but, I don't think, the off-street parking section typically doesn't involve single-family home. It's typically, commercial, industrial. So I think we're talking about driveway widths, we're talking about access driveways, to a commercial site or within a parking lot.
Yes, I mean, 20 feet seems to be a little ambitious for a residential driveway.
The driveways we're showing on our plan, I believe, are 20 to 24 feet because we have garages that are
Side by side.
So,
Yeah.
but we, when in doubt, we ask for the exemption. So, because I don't think the bylaw is clear whether it applies with, it doesn't say it only applies to commercial.
I mean, I think if we feel that the exemption is reasonable under these circumstances, we can enact it regardless of whether the actual bylaw says 12 or 14 feet. We know what it could say, but obviously we're acting as essentially a super as a super zoning board in this instance. So if we're willing to concede the 12 feet, then the bylaw has to yield.
So I guess I have a concern in general, because we know that the E-code wasn't current with respect to the Board of Health regs, which were 2023, right? The E-code is published on the town's website. So are we now saying that we probably should check the entire zoning bylaw against the one that's within the section 300 within the E-code? Because for inconsistencies? And which one governs?
Right. And that would be my question as well. I don't think we have to go through the entire zoning bylaw, because certainly not all of it will have changed, because I've been following it through both documents, and I've only flagged the ones where I see a discrepancy.
And approximately how many have you flagged?
I'd say maybe half a dozen.
Right, well, I think we
So-
can address each of those without having to exhaustively go through the legislative history of our town meetings for the past 10 years to figure out which is the current one, because that's going to require a fair amount of work from the town clerk, and our town meetings are interesting in their record keeping.
A suggestion for the board's consideration would be, grant a partial waiver to allow us to build what we show on the plan. That way you're not waiving everything, but you're allowing us to build what we've proposed.
Okay, I can see that. So essentially, if we think your plan is good enough to pass the requirements required for it, we can say we grant you an exemption to the extent that this plan is in conflict with whatever our zoning bylaw says.
You approve the plan, and to the extent your bylaw conflicts, you're approving the waiver as, to allow the project to be completed as per plan.
Is that for every waiver we're asking for? Is that?
No, but, parking here, it really is a commercial.
Yeah.
Industrial.
Yes, I mean, because you have the dimensions on the plan, right? Now, in our experience, when it comes to normal requests for variances, for example, we say, you show us a plan, we say, okay, we're going to approve this, subject to the, build according to what this plan says, essentially what we're saying, and you've got your year, however long to start to record the decision, do your work, and I think it's 2 years, to get it done. Anyway, and typically if no one has an objection to what if everyone's fine with it, it's okay. Now if the applicant comes back and says, oh, for some reason, it doesn't work, I need 5 more feet, because I hit whatever, there was something I couldn't do, then normally they come back to us and they say, we need to make an adjustment here. So I assume that would probably be the same situation here if you need to deviate substantially from the approved plan.
Well, I guess my concern is that if the E-code, if the zoning, in section 300 of the E-code is zoning, right? If we're not sure whether that governs or the zoning bylaw published in 2020 governs, how do we address that? With the Board of Health regs, we knew that the E code was not current. So if you notice on the first page of the waiver request, we kept section 310 of the E code in there, and we asked for a blanket waiver of the entire, just so there's no doubt that it doesn't, we agreed it doesn't apply. We asked for the, then we went through the 2023 Board of Health regs, and went through every single section in detail. And what we submitted 2 days ago, February 2nd, and asked for, because we knew that that one governed. So the question is, do we go through the exercise? Should I go through the exercise of going through every section, kind of multi-screen and checking to see which one's different?
I don't think it is, if I may, Mr. Chair. I think we can still get through this because the differences aren't so significant that we're going from, 5 feet to 500 feet, for example. And I think we could address it that whether, for example, with this one, first of all, I tend to agree that I don't even think the off-street parking applies to this use. I think that the bylaw is really geared more towards commercial parking areas, not driveways to service single-family homes or duplexes. So first and foremost, we might just make a determination that you don't need a waiver from any of the off-street parking requirements whatsoever. But I understand applicants are typically over-inclusive rather than under-inclusive. But, for example, whether the width of a driveway is 12 feet or 14 feet, I don't think changes anything if the board ultimately says, we grant the waiver from whatever the bylaw currently requires to allow a driveway of 12 feet wide.
Yes.
Then it won't matter whether which version of the bylaw is technically the most current version.
Yes, I would agree with that. I think that does solve their issue and alleviates the uncertainty.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a comment?
Yes, of course.
Alan Wheelock, in addition to serving on this board, I'm chairman of the Bylaw Review Committee, and we brought E-code to Plympton in conjunction with the town clerk. We've never had any reason to doubt the accuracy of the updates from E-code. That particular software is used in many towns in Massachusetts. They have a strong professional track record. It's a very, very good company. This is the first time I've ever heard any complaints about accuracy of updates from E-code. So I would definitely follow up with the town clerk. She is managing the relationship between the town and the company that owns E-code, and she should be able to answer any questions that you may have.
Normally, I would think, when we approve a zoning, a bylaw at town meeting that's going to go to E-code, we prepare a document, we sign a document. Now, it could just be, it could be like you scan it in, it scans a 4 instead of a 2 or a 2 instead of a 4, and so it doesn't get caught until someone actually needs to actually address it.
Well, the process has always been, as I understand it, if our bylaws changes pass a town meeting, it then goes to the Attorney General's office. We typically don't get approval, so if town meeting's in May, we don't usually hear until September or October whether the Attorney General has approved the town's changes to its bylaws. And at that point, E-code gets involved and E-code updates electronically the bylaw, and that's the one that should be the most current and the most accurate. It's a digital version.
Although, I do wonder, because they have to get the text of the bylaw from us, and that's something the town clerk has.
There's a possibility for human error there, that's true.
Or even machine error, if it's like scanned in an OCR and it mistakes a 2 for a 4. Something like that. So anyway, but we will look into it and make sure that that the current E-code is the most up-to-date one that reflects the approved bylaws that are passed by town meeting and approved by the Attorney General's office. All right, so with that being said, let's see. We're still on off-street parking here, so we talked about the minimum driveways. Okay, spaces exempt, all right, what do we got here? I think we're on this, all right, B4, residential requires 2 spaces per unit, we've talked about that. Let's see, 4-foot maximum slope, C2, is there,
Yeah, what's,
you know, because again, that goes back to, you know, exemptions and actual, you know, of an actual, actual objective requirement. So I think we probably would want to have, you know, a maximum slope of some percentage specified.
is that what they're specifying, the 4%?
No, that's what our.
No, that's what the
That's what
bylaw
our
requires.
bylaws are, and they want an exemption.
Yes.
Right.
So-
And they have not identified what the proposed grade would be.
Do you have a proposed grade?
Well, I'm sure they're less, these plans show that they're less than 4%, but they're not final construction plans. So that's why we give us leeway with, you know, sections like this. That we might, I can't foresee why we would need the waiver, but if it's not in place, then kind of handicaps us with our final grading plan. I don't think it's a problem. I don't think it's a problem. I think it's pretty flat. Yeah. So, but again, it's probably pertains more to an off-street, you know, a commercial or industrial, the whole section, commercial or industrial, but we can strike that section. We did add, by the way, in the recent submission, on February 2nd, we added some visitor parking. I think we talked about
I see
at the
that
last
down in
meeting.
C3.
Yeah.
So we added 20 spaces.
That's good.
And the only other plan change was we added 2 cisterns, unrelated to this section of Boston, as requested by the fire department.
Okay,
So
okay,
do we want to strike it, or
okay, so I see the,
parking?
the new parking that I didn't see that on the previous plan. And I don't see the cisterns, but anyway, we're not there yet. All right, so, anyway, so I don't have any strong feelings on the slope, based on, you know, what you've mentioned, so,
If I may just add one thing, if I recall, a slope for a fire access road can't be greater than 10%. So this would obviously have to be somewhere less than 10, but greater than 4 if you actually need the waiver. If you don't feel you need the waiver,
that should be struck.
then I would recommend striking it.
That's fine.
Strike it?
So we'll withdraw C2,
Okay.
so we can strike that right out of the list.
All right, so
C8.
all right, so C3, we talked about visitor parking. Okay, striping, and, that's, again, that seems to be more of a commercial situation. Let's see, all right, parking area should not require backing onto a public way, that doesn't apply.
It actually will now, Mr. Chair, with respect to the visitor parking spaces right at the entryway.
Okay, all right, so.
And what were there, are there 10 or 12 visitor parking spaces there? I tried to,
I thought he said 20.
read
I
it.
wish I
I see
could read it. There's two. One has 12 and the other has 8. So
Okay. Then I think the
there's
front
12.
is probably 12.
The cul-de-sac for the project is probably 8. And at the mail kiosk, I think it's
Yep.
12. I can't read this.
So there's
11 by 17.
8 on the cul-de-sac and 12 on the, at the entrance.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
And that would be considered backing into a public way.
If, into the cul-de-sac, if that's considered the public, if that's considered a public
Yeah,
way, I suppose.
it will be a roadway, but also the 12 spaces as you first enter, where the 12 spaces will be by the mail kiosk. The only way in and out is going to be to back out onto what essentially becomes this new subdivision roadway.
Okay, so if I understand this correctly, on your plan where it says parcel B, essentially, that's not, this parcel B is not part of Plympton, it's part of the Carver, land. That's owned by SLT, right?
But it's part of this lot. The lot just happens to extend into Carver.
Oh, I see, okay, all right. So, we call it two parcels, it's it's one lot in terms of what's on the deed. Is that what you're telling me?
What we've done is we've made all of the land in Carver, we're calling it parcel B.
Okay. But anyway, in terms of if I looked at your deed, it would encompass both of these parcels,
Yes.
right? It'd say land in Plympton and land in Carver, right?
I'm not sure what the deed says, but it's both.
All right, so a tree is one parcel, all right? So does that require them, what do they have to do, what do they have to do with Carver? Now they've got a parking lot. They need to do anything with that, or is that just between them and Carver?
Have you had to go to Carver for any permissions?
No. We had when the definitive subdivision was approved in Carver, we showed a site driveway to a different use than this, but it was still a 20-foot site driveway. Up into Plympton. So it's what we're essentially showing here is a driveway.
Although
With parking.
its use is used for so it's essentially a driveway, but
Nothing is.
a parking lot style driveway instead of a more of a horizontal driveway, I guess you want to call instead of a vertical one if you look at what if you look at the plan. But anyway, I get what you're saying. Because usually,
Yes. Yeah.
okay, all right, so technically that, I'm not even sure if that really, technically that may not even apply because we can't impose our zoning bylaws on Carver land, so I don't think, I'm not sure we could even grant, I'm not sure that's something that's within our power to grant.
No, you don't have any jurisdiction over Carver. But again, this is a waiver so that the 20 additional guest parking spaces that they're using these two locations can back out onto a street.
Okay, but as I understand it, the ones by the mill kiosk, that's the end of the road, of a private roadway. Because we're not considering, whatever this thing's gonna be called, Ricketts Pond Road or whatever it's gonna be called, the 8 spaces that are at the end of the cul-de-sac, those don't back out onto a public way. It's the 12 that are at the very end of the complex in Carver, those do back
That
out.
are in Carver, right.
So technically, I don't think it's appropriate, I don't think we can grant that waiver, because it's not required for the 8, and we have no power over the 12.
And as long as this is maintained as a private way,
Yes,
then we don't need C7 either.
all right, so we'll,
So
It
we'll,
really doesn't apply.
so we'll delete C7.
It's not a public, it's not an existing public way.
Yeah, I think you can delete some.
Okay.
I think C8 is the same thing.
yeah, I think C8
C8's
is for the same reason.
C9 too.
I'm not, wait, take a look at C9 here. Let's not be too hasty.
No.
Walkouts of 8 or more cars shall be screened from any abutting residential use or public way by a 4-foot width of densely planted shrubs or a privacy fence not with 4 feet in
This is
height.
a commercial thing, and it's not a parking lot.
Now, technically, that could apply to the 8 in the interior cul-de-sac. However, again, as you suggest, it is a commercial use, and I don't, and I'm not sure that aesthetically, that really helps anybody in the situation. So I don't have a problem with C9.
You don't have a problem with the exemption?
No. It says, street trees provided for the development located on adjacent visitors' parking spaces. I mean, I think that would come with, that sort of thing would come within the spirit of what that's trying to do. All right, so, and I think that C12, again, seems to be, similar. Actually, C12 really doesn't apply because it says 10 or more parking spaces. You don't have 10, you only have 8. So I don't think C12 applies.
Yeah, I don't think either apply.
I think C9 could make an argument to apply, but I think that C10 does not apply, so, but again, as you say, if there's,
C12.
if there's trees,
9 to 12.
do you, let's see, and any one of your maps, do you indicate proposed sites for planting of trees along this, on this plan here? I'm not sure if
We're
I,
showing street trees. We are showing street trees, yes, on sheet 7 of our plan set.
okay. Okay, I think I see it here, and, are they the, okay, all right.
Yes, those are the round circles
Yeah, the round
near the
circles by the
sidewalks, every
curbs.
so many feet.
The ones that look like shrubs, yes.
All right.
Circle.
The only thing I might suggest is, maybe planting one or two more shrubs by that interior parking lot, but other than that, I don't, I think that's, that seems to be appropriate. As I think you only got one within its part of the circle there. Maybe two.
There's nothing to indicate those are actually trees.
So we asked for plan later with this.
Yeah, because site plan review, especially it's not a pleasant plan.
So we really have to ask for this.
Could I ask where on sheet 7 you're showing trees? Because I'm not seeing any notation.
They're like every 50 feet.
Yeah, but I'm not seeing any notation that says that's what it is versus, say, a catch basin, et cetera. All right, proposed street tree it's in the enlarged version.
So
I see it now.
they look like
Is there a
little golf.
notation? There should be a
In
notation.
what's the blown up portion of it, you can now see where a tree is denoted. But, okay, never mind.
Spacing at 50 feet on center, yeah.
So you're proposing essentially to plant a tree every 50 feet or so, is that right?
Right. Unless it falls within the limit of a driveway, then we, adjustments.
Sure. So it does pretty much look like, generally speaking, each half of a duplex is gonna have about approximately one tree in front of it. More or less. All right, so I think that gets us, I think we have an understanding, and I think that gets us pretty much to that section. All right, so now the next section says 300-6.7 site plans, entire section.
Because there's no site plan review, you're doing site plan review.
That's a standard, yep.
Okay,
Same thing with special permits. They technically don't need to request waivers from special permit provisions. So all of Article 7 for special permits, that can be deleted.
all right. So, now, it says site plans up here, but there's also another big section down below that says site plan regulations. And those any way conflict with each other if they're asking for a general versus a specific? I'm not sure I understand that.
I think there's actually a separate document that's called the site plan regulations. It's chapter 340.
Yes.
So they're asking for a waiver from all site
All right.
plan requirements because this process takes the place of what would be site plan review.
All right, I understand. Yes. So site plan, subdivision regulations, okay, all right, so we understand that. All right, so the last one on this section of the waivers is groundwater protection district. They're asking for an exemption of that. Let's see, and I understand this is partially, looks like it's partially related to the earth removal permit, which you also asked for up above. So I suppose, obviously, that has to be addressed because, you need to move earth in order to build these houses, and I think that's what this is part of what you're asking for here. So now, so how should we really deal with this? Because there is the the earth removal permit issue is a little more complex because there is this outstanding appeal of a cease and desist order that touches upon the subject matter, and and here they're asking essentially for permission to remove earth that would be protected by the groundwater protection district bylaw.
So they're, as hard as it may be to sort of divorce the two,
Yes.
they are separate. Because what this is asking for is for a certain amount of earth removal and/or grading that is necessary for them
Yes.
to build these duplexes. So this is going forward. Versus that enforcement action has to do with what has already occurred on the site and whether or not what occurred on the site was permitted or not. And that process is going to have to play itself out. And who knows what the ultimate resolution will be. But it could very well be that if it comes back to the board and the board finds that, yes, there was some violation, I would imagine there's going to be some remediation that's going to be required. If the board finds that there has been no violation, then the site stays as is. But this isn't blessing anything that has already occurred on site, and we should be clear about that. And if that, I will have a heightened sense of sensitivity when drafting conditions for the board that this is really only prospectively what might need to be done and doesn't in any way impact the enforcement action. So I guess this might be one of those areas, and again, this is where the lettering of E-code and the online version of the bylaw don't line up, although the substance of the bylaw does. We might want to be very specific then with respect to that removal or regrading to finished grade within 10 feet of the spring high water mark. based on where things exist today or an elevation shown on the plan, however the board wishes to really capture that.
Carolyn, can I ask a question, please, about
Sure.
40B? Is it the case that the state 40B law would allow applicants to override all the groundwater protection bylaws that local communities have?
40B allows an applicant with the ZBA's blessing to waive any zoning bylaw, including a groundwater bylaw.
With the ZBA's permission?
Right, so that's why you have before you tonight this list of waivers, and the board would have to vote either to grant the waiver or to deny the waiver.
It's a very serious issue because we've already had one instance in this town of, pollution in getting into our groundwater on the Middleborough town line, as most of you know about. And it really sets me back to think that all the local bylaws, in addition to the state laws protecting wetlands and protecting groundwater, could potentially just be overruled. I don't see how that could be.
Well, I want to be clear, any state law is not within your purview.
Right.
So any state laws, whether it's pertaining to the Wetlands Protection Act, Title V, Chapter 21E on environmental concerns, things like that, anything that is dictated by state law, that's going to be dealt with separately through either the proper state agency like DEP, or it would be dealt with here locally. The Conservation Commission administers the State Wetlands Protection Act. The Board of Health administers Title V for septic systems. But the only thing the zoning board can look at are local bylaws and regulations in the context of a 40B.
You wish to speak?
Yes, Jared Anderson. Is it possible or reasonable to condition that instead of just outright waive or not waive it? Because the town's earth removal, I don't know what the exact number is, it might be 500 cubic yards or 1,000. It seems pretty significant, and a few meetings ago, Mr. McKenzie, I think, said it would be maybe a small import or export of soil. But I think to just outright waive the earth removal would kind of issue like a carte blanche for.
Yes, I think your point is well taken. I think we can impose certain conditions that would permit, them to remove, but not give them a blank check.
But again, the section we're talking about is not the earth removal by, this is the groundwater protection district. It's different.
But I'm not sure if, whatever conditions, if we are going to impose conditions, essentially I think they do effectively have to encompass both considerations, the removal and the protection. So if we say, you can only haul out so many yards of fill a day, or we can only do how many trucks a day, or something like that. That I think would be our way to compromise and preserve, to the extent that we can, the actual functions that those bylaws are intended to accomplish. So I think, in term, my thought is on this, right? The earth removal bylaw is a little helpful here because it has a section that talks about operating conditions, and it says approvals, permit giving approval, and we have all these things we consider. There's about 18 things. I think looking at that might be helpful in order to determine what sort of parameters we're going to, if we want to place parameters on what you can do, what sort of parameters, we might suggest that would be appropriate to, alleviate some of the concerns of untrammeled removal.
The issue here is that we're not sure if we're going to be working within 10 feet. we're not sure. We excavated probably a dozen test pits on the site. We didn't hit water. We didn't hit any groundwater. But we're excavating down for stormwater basins, for instance, that we need to cut, 4 or 5 feet in some cases. So that would mean we would have need to have excavated down to 15, 16 feet to verify that we're not going to be within 10 feet. That's why we asked for the waiver. We're meeting the state stormwater regulations require a 4-foot separation from the bottom of the stormwater BMPs to seasonal high groundwater. And we're meeting all the state regulations for stormwater. And of course, Title V, of course.
And obviously, the state regulations provide the 4, that they, when we have no authority to waive them or to permit their violation either. So that is what it is.
Mr. Chair, if I could also just point out, under the Groundwater Protection District, under permitted uses, subparagraph F allows residential development in the Groundwater Protection District, subject to, Board of Health and Conservation approvals and lot dimension requirements noted in the intensity of uses. So the use is technically allowed. And even though they may not be complying with all of the lot dimension requirements, those are the number of waivers that we just reviewed a little while ago. So that essentially it would be up to this board whether or not to, grant those dimensional waivers. But I do want to be clear, it's not that the use is not allowed. It's just that the use would have to comply with all dimensional requirements.
All right. But you just mentioned there a moment ago, Board of Health and COMCOM regulations, right? Now, is this waiver for groundwater protection district, does that fall within their spheres, or is that something outside them that we consider?
It's within the ZBA's sphere.
In this instance?
Yes.
So that's why we asked for the blanket exemption for that section, because the zoning board would be acting as the permitting authority. We did not want to have to get, it said the word is approval from the Conservation Commission or the Board of Health, so that they can make a determination as to whether or not the use is permitted.
But now you just mentioned that there are regulations by both bodies that would be applicable in this situation?
I didn't actually say that. There could be. I'm not aware of any, and there aren't any listed in the waiver list. It's just that the Groundwater Protection District allows residential development subject to all Plympton building codes, Board of Health approvals, and Conservation Commission approvals, and lot dimension requirements.
All right, so it sounds like to me that the way we could address this is by requiring the applicant to conform to those requirements, whatever you just said, other than those we specifically waive.
Correct.
All right, so, and I think that kind of also touches upon their earth removal, because I believe that there is something under earth removal, again, for residential development.
There's also something under earth removal. I know we weren't quite going to talk about it, but there's an exemption for earth removal incidental to construction.
All right.
So I would think that the excavation necessary for, digging the foundations, for the duplexes, for the septic systems, to a certain extent, some of this activity is going to be exempt from the earth removal bylaw. If there's something beyond that, perhaps when we get to it, the applicant can explain to us what else is necessary here.
So I think for now, perhaps the best way to handle that suggestion is to consider it, because it's residential, to consider it, subject to the rules and regulations that govern this, to the extent that residential development is required for earth removal and groundwater, protection. So I think that's the way we'll handle that. And with that, I believe that that does complete the section. So anyway, so before we talk about votes here, I want to see, should we stop here now and, give a more definitive response to the to this section here, or should we continue on with other sections and deal with those now? My preference is probably to give a fairly definitive response to, of how we're going to deal with this section, just the chapter 300, and then if there's anything else we can discuss here tonight, which there may not be, we can move on to those other areas. If anyone understood what I said,
I thought we just went through every
All right,
waiver that was requested and kind of
Yeah.
came to an understanding
All
as
right,
to
so-
which ones were going to be stricken and which ones were going to, how the language would be changed. We also know we need to look add more specifics with respect to, dimensional data that we're not providing.
And if I can add to your list on that one, then under groundwater, number 19 here, where more than 20% of any lot is proposed to be impervious. You're requesting a waiver from that. It'd be nice to have some sort of a range there, if we could.
All right, so I think we understand that for groundwater protection, we will, the state requirements, if it says 10 feet on our bylaw and says 4 feet there, then I think, those will have to yield. But anyway, but I do appreciate Carolyn's suggestion that, to be, the definition about the 20%, the max, would be appropriate for that. And otherwise, we would continue on with what we've said on that. So now, I think we've managed to encapsulate this section with what our views are. But would it be appropriate now to actually go back and make votes on this, or should we consider it provisional, or however we might?
Do you want to see if there are any questions or public comment, at least on what we've covered so far?
Yes, I
before?
think so. So now, everyone here, we thank you all for your attention, your patience, but if everyone here has something that they'd like to say on what we've talked about in the past, I would say 45 minutes or so, solely on the zoning bylaws, as chapter 300, as we've gone through the waivers here, if anyone would like to speak or have any comments, now would be appropriate. Yes, Mr. Anderson.
Do you intend to vote on this tonight?
I think we'd have to discuss that as a board if we want to vote on it tonight, or just have this be deemed as a provisional understanding, because, there's still some things that might be subject to change as we go along here.
Just because we still have,
Yes, I mean,
we
essentially,
haven't reviewed the hydro study, and so anything relevant to that, I would just ask to be excluded.
I
Yeah,
think,
you weren't going to vote on anything relative to, that impacts the hydrogeology
No.
study, no.
and I don't think most of what we have here, with the exception of perhaps impervious uses.
Yes, that was what
All
I,
right, so, but they have to come back with us with numbers anyway, so that's not, we're not gonna, so whatever we do tonight, we're not gonna give them a yay or a nay on that. I think
Okay, thank you.
I think we're all solid on that one. So, however, but I think the discussion tonight has come to a reasonable understanding of what we would consider to be grantable as an exemption, what we require more information about, and what we believe that does not apply, or can be otherwise, yes, that doesn't apply, or that we're willing to waive or grant the exemption for. So, now with that, I think, yes, could you identify yourself? I know you spoke before, but
Excuse me?
could you identify yourself?
Sure. My name is Meg Sheehan. I'm a landowner and homeowner here in Plympton, and I'm also a pro bono attorney with Community Land and Water Coalition based in Plymouth. My comment is that, yes, as you know, there have been 3 cease and desist orders in connection with the earth removal at the site. And there are serious concerns about the depth of groundwater throughout the site and whether they have excavated into the groundwater. I think segmenting that issue and saying that, oh, it's only prospective and it might be incidental prospective, but we're going to separate out the past violations, that would be highly improper. But I do primarily want to focus on the fact that in 2018, this project was subject to the Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act, or MEPA, which required a certificate and an environmental notification form that Mr. McKenzie filed, and indicated that this would be an innovative business district, 47 acres, partly in Carver, partly in Plympton. So now you have the 24 acres in Plympton being converted into a residential use, following the earth removal, of course. And that was never covered by the NEPA certificate, which of course addresses stormwater, earth removal, all of these things, traffic. So these are all very closely tied to your zoning bylaw and these exemptions that you're considering tonight. So it was a 43.7 acre parcel straddling the Plympton Carver line, and 27 acres were supposed to remain as open space, which would seem to mean in most versions of that term to be treed open space. So now most of the site has been completely cleared and now will be completely denuded. So our question is, has there been a notice of project change with the Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act, which would be required when SLT tried to put in the asphalt, brick, and demolition recycling facility about 2 years ago? Mass DEP said that that was a change of use, and that had to go to NEPA. So this is likewise a change in use from what the state approved for this project. So are you aware of the notice of project change that's been filed with NEPA?
I've not seen such a document. Would you like to comment?
No, it's not required, in my opinion. This is a different project. It happens to be in the town of Plympton, and the Spring Street Innovative Zoning District is in Carver. So for purposes of the MEPA application, we showed a suggested use that was allowed by right as an industrial use in Plympton. So it was a light industrial use, which is consistent with what was built in the Carver subdivision. And if I can comment on the groundwater, we're not even close to intercepting seasonal high groundwater on this site. Given the grades that are out there today, or based on the grades that are out there today, we went down another 12 feet. We didn't hit groundwater. So we're not even close to intercepting groundwater.
Sorry.
So, I mean, with respect to, it's not, there's no notice, this is a different project. That MEPA application was filed, I believe, in 2018. So it's not even close to being, it's the same project.
If I can read from the MEPA certificate dated August 10th, 2018. The project site is an approximately 43.7 acre parcel straddling the Carver-Plympton line. It described the 43 acres, 27 acres in Plympton, and the rest in Carver. The reason this had to go through MEPA in order to have a plan to minimize and mitigate damage to the environment is because it was a transfer of public land from Mass DOT to SLT, which requires broad review in order to protect the public interest and in order to minimize and mitigate damage to the environment. So we can look at the site and what has happened. It does not seem like much was mitigated, and now we have a change in use. And it is a change in use, and the MEPA certificate and the state approval under MEPA applied in Plympton. And it addressed things like water supply and wastewater, wetlands and stormwater, alternatives analysis, land alteration. According to the ENF filed by Mr. McKenzie, this project will alter 9.5 acres. So of the 43 acres, the environmental notification form signed under oath stated that only 9.5 acres of the 43 acres would be altered. Happy to provide you with a copy of it, but it was submitted and should be part of your record because we sent it with our comments when SLT proposed the demolition debris recycling facility that it then abandoned after the town asked for a hydrology study. And the state said you have to go to LEPA.
As I recall, it's been, yes, about 2 years ago, I do remember the request for SLT for an ABC permit, and it was denied by the board, on the same lot. I haven't seen the file in 2 years, so I'm not sure if those materials are still in it. But if you'd like to submit the materials of which you're speaking, happy, we will take them. And if our own hydrogeologist, I'm not sure if he's looked at those, but if you might find them helpful, we could forward them to him. Now, does anyone else wish to speak on any of the subject before we continue on here? All right. So anyway, I think we have come to a preliminary understanding on this section of what we're going to grant and what we need to reserve for future discussion. And I don't think, in terms of the other sections here, we're really in a position here to address those tonight.
I was going to say, Mr. Chair, you could look at the subdivision regulations. It's a little bit lengthy. I don't know if you want to tackle that this evening. There is also on page 17, there's the chapter 340, the site plan regulations, where they're seeking an exemption from basically that entire document, as we talked about earlier.
Okay.
This process takes the place of site plan approval, so that might be one you could
All right, so
discuss.
I think your point is well taken, that since this process governs, I think that those plans are superfluous in terms of their requirements. However, if there's anything in them that anyone thinks it would be important to bring to our attention, that we should incorporate into essentially our own ad hoc site plan review, then I'd be happy to listen to any suggestion. But I do think that what you say is pretty much the way we need to handle that, in terms of they don't govern what we're going to do here in this application. Right, so if that takes care of that. Oh, and there's one final thing here, the last page, it says comprehensive permit rules and regulations, the plan standards. I don't see any, I don't see any issue with exempting the scale requirement. With that being said, I think we've accomplished a good deal tonight, but there are certain sections here that either we can't quite manage because of the Title V, the wetlands. I think those should definitely need to be held over for another day based on the hydrogeology report. And is anyone really enthusiastic about going into the subdivision regs? Well, right now, or do we put those off to the next day? Dave, you good? You good with that?
I'm good, if you want to do it.
All right, so anyway, here's what we're going to do going forward. Our next meeting, we will continue on, I think, with discussion, which I think will focus, well, first of all, we need to have a discussion about our report from the hydrogeo, and I think at that point, depending on what that discussion comes to, we can either talk about the the wetlands and the Title V, or we can talk about the subdivision regulations, depending on which is more appropriate at that time. Because I don't think getting it all done is a little too, all three of those sections is too ambitious, I think, for one night. But I think we could probably get to something, but any of those are on the table, I think, and you can talk, and that's on the agenda because I'm just talking about it now, as opposed to what we can talk about at our next meeting. But I definitely want to have our next meeting scheduled after we've had a chance to get the hydrogeology report back, and everyone can, everyone will have a chance to look at them, and I have no problem putting the draft up there after I get the final, and then we can all have a discussion about what those report and what that peer review means, and what needs to go on going forward. So I think that's what we should do for our next meeting.
Mr. Chair, I did communicate via email with Attorney Murray and Mr. Driscoll about the schedule for the next meeting.
Yeah.
And I thought it might be appropriate to have both hydrogeo experts at the next meeting.
All right.
So our expert can present his report, the board's as expert can present theirs, and then there would be an opportunity for our expert in the interim, the next few weeks, to review your expert's report and be prepared to comment. So he's out of the area now on assignment. He'll be back, I think, on the 18th or 19th of this month. So it might make sense to schedule the next meeting, when he gets back.
All right, that's.
We had discussed, as you remember, you and I with GEI, that they didn't carry in their proposal attending a meeting.
I'm sorry.
GEI, when we met with them,
Yes.
they didn't carry in their proposal attending a meeting.
I think the.
Is there a Zoom option you guys have?
No,
This, in our technical capabilities?
Because
Let's see. Theoretically, I mean, would you think they would be disinclined to do that if we were able to expand the scope of work?
I think there's geographical challenges. One of the guys that's working on it, as you know, was in
Oh,
North Carolina.
Yeah, he's not, yeah, we'd have to have him remember.
I think one of the closest guys was Connecticut. So.
All right, so, yes, if there weren't, yes, I think, we'll have to work something out here about that. If we, I was thinking, if we can get them on the Zoom, we could project them to the screen.
Good, yeah,
All right, so,
I've done that before, yeah.
The town
Open
stuff.
space, town's done it.
okay, all right, so, just might have to test this out to make sure this actually can work.
Yeah.
But anyway, but yes, I think,
Okay. I can find out if they can work something out for sending somebody from our local office or.
all right, yeah, we'll figure out a way to do that, but yes, I do want them, I think it would be wise to have them here, so either present or comment to their presentation.
Okay.
Okay, and I guess the next point, if their guy's gonna be here talking, what might be the easiest is to, well, I'm not sure, I think we need to physically be present here, but a public Zoom hearing, that, I'm not sure that's permitted after, COVID regulations are over, but can we?
Still do it.
We can still do it?
Mm-hmm.
So what we could do for that is to actually have a public Zoom meeting, and, everyone would be on Zoom, and then that would make things a little easier, because we're all logging into the same thing, and hopefully it works. So we might need to schedule our next hearing by Zoom just for that purpose. I'll have to ask somebody around here who know how to set up the Zoom for that.
So we'd all do Zoom,
Yeah.
too?
Well, it'd be hybrid, right?
It's not what he's suggesting.
Well, where's your guy out of?
Norwell.
Okay, so he doesn't have a geographic issue. Only our consultants do. I don't want anybody driving from Connecticut, because that's an unnecessary expense. I'm just concerned with the logistics, because I do, if our person is commenting from Connecticut, he has to be able to talk to us and listen to what, is being said in this room. So if we can do that, if that could work, I prefer to do that, because obviously it's more, I think it's, it's easier on the bandwidth, which means it's more likely not to have technical issues. But if that's, if that doesn't seem to work, then we'll probably have to have a Zoom hearing where everybody participates by Zoom, or at least some people do. Just to get it done. But anyway, I do want, both sets of experts to have opportunities to comment on what the other is saying. Anyway, let's go and figure out a date here. All right, so I might suggest the 25th, if that might be enough time for the experts to get themselves to review and comment. I feel the 18th might be a tad too ambitious.
Mr. Chair, I'm not available on the 25th, but
Okay?
Can you do the 24th?
We're not wedded to a Thursday, but I mean Wednesday.
I mean Tuesday, that's what I'm saying, could we
Yeah.
do Tuesday
I
instead?
could do the 24th.
All right. Okay.
I prefer to do Tuesday.
20 days, I think.
What do you think?
I'm okay with it. 24?
We have some conflicts. I think our team would be completely available on the 23rd or the 26th, which is Monday or Thursday. I don't know if that might work for you.
How's the 26th look?
I have a conflict then, but I am available on the 23rd.
Is the 23rd cutting it a little too fine?
Well, if that letter comes out from GEI, I think we'll be plenty fine.
Our expert probably needs a week,
All right.
so,
From the 19th?
no.
Or
No,
from
he
getting-
can review it,
Oh.
remotely.
I don't know if you couldn't even start looking at stuff till the 19th.
No, he's just working, across the country somewhere, so.
All right. All right, so the 23rd is proposed. Does anyone have any?
23rd
Of February. Does anyone have an impossible conflict for the 23rd? Hearing no objections, then I move that we schedule the next meeting for February 23rd at 6:30.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
All right, so that's going to be the next meeting. I'll make sure to get the notice out and talk about hydro-geo reports and more waivers. So, anyway, is there any other
Back to that other matter.
6:30. Okay, so any other matters we need to discuss here tonight before I entertain a motion?
I think you just have to give us a new date on the appeal.
Appeal.
Oh, yes, the appeal. Thank you. All right, so we'll have to set a provisional date because our attorney's not here, but when were you thinking? A date in March, I think?
I could pretty much do any date in March.
All right. Okay, so, how does March 11th look for everybody who isn't our attorney? All right, so all right, what do we got? 10th. Oh, yeah, I can't do the first of March. All right, so,
And you don't have the same restrictions on your board, because all 5 of you are here, so.
oh, yes, I mean, so for example.
Oh, yeah,
for-
that's true.
For the appeal, Lucas will be a full member for that purpose, because he's been here. And so, but as for the 40B, it'll be Dave, who's the full member, because, he was not here, Lucas was not here. So anyway, all right, I got the 10th, the 11th, the 12th. Anyone have any conflict over any of those 3 days?
Good.
All right, so I just want to give a few days for the attorney, since he's not here at the moment.
Because I'm gone the following week.
All right, so, anyway, so I'm going to provisionally schedule it for the 11th. However, our attorney has a conflict on that date. I will ask him tomorrow, you have any conflict on the 11th? And if he said, but the 10th or the 12th, anyway, everyone keep their calendars open for that 3 days for the next day or so, their evening. And if neither of those work, then we'll go back to the drawing board and figure out a date.
If we continue to the 11th, and if there's any type of a conflict, will agree to
An extension.
another date.
I'm not sure, but anyway, but yes, sorry, that's much appreciated, so, but, yes, but I can get back to you guys tomorrow about when our attorney's available that week.
Can you let the public know too?
Oh, absolutely,
on the
because,
website?
once I get the final date, I send out the notice, and that gets put on the town website.
Thank you.
So whatever, yeah, so you'll see on the town's calendar, you'll see, that week, if we agree on the date of that week, you'll see, okay, ZBA hearing 6:30 on whatever date, so you do get the notices out, so keep an eye out if you want to know what date that's gonna be.
But you are voting to continue it to March 11th.
Yes, provisionally March 11th.
Yes.
With an understanding that if it needs to change a day or two, we will update the notice.
Yep.
And, because we don't need a meeting just to agree on a change of hearing. So with that, I think we're all done with the business for this meeting. Greg, you did get my email with the check?
Yeah, was that this week or next week?
Let's see, next Tuesday, she said you'll read this.
Next Tuesday. Okay.
And it'll be, and it sounds like you can take care of it on, cash on Thursday.
Okay.
But essentially, you're getting the full amount that's left in the 53G account, and we'll need to have some money added to that, I'm sure. But anyway, but I'll have to give SLT the invoices so that they see what they've been paying for. And we can discuss that at the next hearing. All right, with that, everything else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Anyone want to make that motion?
Motion.
So moved.
All right, all in favor? All right.
Aye.
All right, well, thank you very much for coming out tonight, everybody.
Thank you.